One thing I want to ask about, actually, because we're not going to talk much about Hanwha Life. Like, yes, because of the Fnatic situation, maybe they have some miracle chance to get out of the group suddenly. But the only angle I did want to ask about, for obvious reasons, Jaska, is we did see Chovy, who was being hailed as best player in the world. I think at this point in time, probably should be best laner in the world because we can't really know what he could do as a player in that team. What did you think of his Tryndamere mid-game? And obviously Perks played one as well. So if you maybe just want to give us some thoughts on this, because you've obviously specialised in this champion. And even though a pleb's going to go, that's fucking Chovy, it's like, Chovy hasn't played as many games and as many reps as Jaska, so I'm sure you saw some angles and some things he didn't do very well, right?
Yeah, for sure. So first off, I'll kind of go with the Cloud9 angle in that.
All right.
If they are going to make an upset, it's going to be off of mid Tryndamere. They're the only team that I've actually seen in this tournament who can properly play mid Tryndamere and understand how to draft around it. Like, Cloud9's drafts have actually been really good, and the way that they sort of drafted Tryndamere was really, really good. It might have been because I also spoke with Cloud9 and like helped them in terms of like how to properly use the pick. That probably had something to do with it. But when it comes to Chovy's Tryndamere, everything about the play style, the build, the draft, how he actually played in the game, everything was wrong. Like, he played... the reason that mid Tryndamere has become a thing in the past month or two is this Chinese streamer on the Korean server who has gotten like top 10 in Korea with this Gore Drinker build. And the problem with the Gore Drinker build is it's so like solo queue-esque, and you kind of become a secondary carry when you play it. So it's not this super hyper carry Tryndamere that you would actually expect. Chovy played Grasp and Gore Drinker, which are both two really low damage, just super early game centric like styles. And then he didn't even really try to pressure the lane. The only thing that he got out of lane was a 20 CS lead. And that's just because he was farming camps. He wasn't even denying Gragas anything. He's playing Grasp, which is a lane dominant rune, doesn't play to lane. And then also, just in the context of Hanwha Life, it doesn't make any sense because you're putting Chovy, who should be the primary carry on this team, the strongest player, on a sort of a secondary carry type of style. So it's just a terrible way of playing Tryndamere. I expect if it does get through bans that Showmaker is going to pull it out, because it has been banned against Showmaker quite a few times.
Right.
And Faker played it quite a bit in solo queue. They might pull it out later in the tournament, but I don't expect Hanwha Life, even if they get out, to really they don't understand the pick. And I don't expect to see much good performances relative to how much they could do if they actually took more time to understand it.
Would you trade it for Aurelia? Sorry, just a quick question just to give. Do you think it's viable to trade it for Aurelia and draft? Or do you think no?
Do you mean playing Tryndamere over Aurelia?
No. Like, would you call it not banning like Aurelia and like not banning like Trend and leave them both open to then like trade it? Because like people will snatch up Aurelia like almost instantly, and then you yourself taking the Trend.
Yeah.
Do you think it's like worth giving that up to then guarantee yourself the Trend ban if they themselves don't ban it? Because then you get the Aurelia one if they do. You see my point?
Yeah, that'd be a really great way to use it, because even if you do trade it, then like Tryndamere is a really great matchup into Aurelia. It's one of those matchups that has just been really, really hard for her since the beginning of Aurelia rework. So that would be really good to just not ban either and just trade the picks.
Right, what I wanted to ask you about, Kira, was just actually Chovy as a player, because obviously he has this like almost contentious element to him. It reminds me actually when Alfari was on bad teams, where people either think he's just the best because he does actually like do amazing shit considering he has bad teammates, or they think like, yeah, but the guy who's the best also has to show me all facets of the game, and if you're just not in a position to carry sometimes, you can't really do it for me. So where do you come down on Chovy?
I think he's exceptional. Like, I actually do think he's exceptional. It's just the problem is in League of Legends right now, there's like a minimum bar onto like certain like things, like fundamental things teams need to like understand to like enable players to have the agency to win the game. And if you don't have that, you will literally just sit in like idolism. Like, think of the years that like Rookie had players that were just so subpar. He was exceptional. We was styling on every LPL mid, and then he would finish like 5th, 6th, maybe a win one playoff game, and he done that for split on. Chovy seems to have gotten himself into the exact same kind of like Elo hell tunnel, to be honest, in terms of Chovy should have like world-winning teams built around him every single year of his career. Chovy should be attempting to win Worlds, be in the final of Worlds every single year. Like, he should have what Showmaker has around him as a core, but he should have the opposite end, the other talent in Korea around him as a core. And the failure to do so is either just a problem within the Korean system, or it's a problem with Chovy himself if he's taking up bad team offers and things like that. It's just depressing to watch, to be honest.
Yeah. Something similar to Froggen, where like he could have done so much more if he actually chose to surround himself around good teams, but something was stopping that.
Yeah, I would also say this, like, even though I totally agree on the teammate point, like, I personally even thought the RX team wasn't quite good enough. Like, you saw the jungle and top needed to be a bit better, if they were really going to win Worlds or something. I do think they had a hard draw, unfortunately, last year in the quarters. Like, I'd love to see them at least play someone else. Maybe one of the Chinese teams would have been interesting. But I personally think, like, not only does this guy have fucking terrible taste in teammates and teams to sign to, like, if people haven't seen it, the joke at this Worlds at the moment is, this guy's getting fucked by Morgan and Willer. And so you'll probably think, what's that? A fucking family, like, legal office that's fucking getting him a divorce or something. Give me a break. Like, these guys are garbage. Like, there's no universe where they should even be at Worlds. Like, it's actually a joke. So if you're looking and you're going, like, he's not carrying, like, how's he going to carry like that? You can't literally 1v9 the game. Like, that's just a fucking metaphor when people say that. But here's my problem with Chovy, and it ties into what you were saying earlier, which is this. Not only, like, that particular pick, did he pick and play it in a way where it's like, dude, how are you even thinking you're going to carry this game? But it even reminds me of the year that he went with Griffin to Worlds, and famously they had the series against IG where he was playing motherfucking tanks and bruisers mid while they put the carries on the famous tank player Sword in the top lane, right? The problem in that scenario is, right, unless you think it really is just some coach who picks all of them, it implies to me he's sort of having some say in these picks and he's thinking these are good picks. But my issue is kind of like what you were saying before about the way he maybe thought of the mid Tryndamere. I get the feeling that he really is like a solo queue player, like he is just like the master of solo queue. It's always why I actually wondered. The reason why I never personally was like that. A lot of people were like, Abdo might be good in solo queue, but would he be good in competitive? It's like, mate, Abdo's whole shit was literally like teleporting around the map to getting kills and like basically figuring out how to like make his team into a team while playing a solo queue game. Chovy just plays like an amazing mid laner who just, the ones that are like, just like, right, I got up on CS, so that's sort of a moral win, even if they lose the game. And you're like, bro, but that isn't the game though. Like, sometimes you might have to give up waves, you might have to die in a fight to win the game. Like, I get the vibe. I don't know. I feel like he maybe has trust issues. I don't know if he's like ticked over completely. I don't blame him in these last two teams, but I feel like there's something is a bit off with his mentality.
Yeah, it's kind of like how
I think he should be a top laner. Sorry, on you go.
Yeah, it's kind of like how Uzi in some situations where I remember one situation where he was on Ezreal Uzi and he farmed Wraiths because he couldn't ever give up any sort of amount of farm. And he ended up being late to a team fight and losing the team fight because of that. And I feel like Chovy might actually be kind of like that, to where he's not making these sacrifices because he just wants to, like, in a cynical way, look so good that it doesn't seem like he's the issue, when he could totally be doing more in these situations, potentially.
I think he's passing that. If he wants to like be on like quality teams, that like if he could continue to well away mid and hope for like better teammates and that. But I personally like think it was LS that said that, and the more I've thought about it, I think it's, as I kind of come around to the sentiment as well, I think he should just do a Xiaohu and become like a god top laner, to be honest. Like he wants these like tank packs and all that, and he's just got this bag full of champions that he plays and stuff, and his laning's impeccable. If he could take that to top lane, he could literally like win, and particularly in LCK where they're obsessed with top lane no matter who's actually playing the role. He could win huge amounts of games through like matchups understanding, laning understanding, because if they isolate matchups and they leave Chovy on an island, he's going to leave body bags all over the place.
I feel like so many mid laners should be role swapping, but they just have too big of an ego to do so. Like, Damonte is still trying to make a career as a mid laner in the LCS when he could just swap to support and instantly get a slot. Like, these players just have way too much of an ego, and they can't give up being the anime protagonist in mid lane.
Faker as well.
I mean, by the way, even someone like Damonte should maybe considered top lane. Like, not only is the champion overlap, but I just think to myself, mate, this is a league that kept giving Viper jobs.
Yeah.
Fucking top layer, like the Dignitas, like that guy was like what good for like fucking 4 games in a split 3 years ago. Something like this is mental. If people, that just shows you which roles are depleted, and those are ones you got to go for if you want the gig. No, the problem I have as well goes like this. I actually also get the vibe with some of these weird picks that Chovy does. This is one thing I hate in League of Legends, because people are too used to superstar players being really egotistical and basically just saying like Piglet off a given star, like just give me my champion no matter what the draft is, no matter what the comp is, like just give me it because basically I'll win the game, right? Like the problem with that is people go the other way and they typically want you to be like, no, everyone in the team is equally good and could all carry depending on what pick we get, right? Well, if you're someone like Chovy, I want you to be really selfish. I don't want you to go, yeah, I'll take this champion that, like, I guess in theory, if my top laner was really good, we'd win with this comp. It's like, no, because you know that's not going to happen. Like, you actually have to. Your responsibility, if you are Chovy in that scenario, is to tell me the champion that you could win the game for us on. Not that you could be, like, the fucking sidekick on, and then this guy, we have to just pray he gets 3 times better. So there's, like, a classic problem in League where, because in theory, being selfless is, like, so encouraged, I understand why. It can go too far the other way, though, and it just becomes stupid. Like, it would basically be the equivalent of like an amazing scorer in basketball just constantly passing to the worst player on the team. Like, yeah, it sounds great to say you pass to the worst player, you're going to give him confidence, but you're going to have a better job shooting that shot than he is. You have to also consider like what's best for the team, and sometimes what's best for the team is the best player fucking gives himself the tools to win the game. That's just a reality, and no one wants to hear it, but it is a reality. Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.